In 1962, the port of Rotterdam passed New York to become the busiest port on Earth. Ships loaded with oil, steel, and grain sailed into the Netherlands from every ocean. For over 40 years, no other port on the planet moved more cargo. Today, Rotterdam still stands as the largest port in all of Europe. It stretches more than 40 kilometers along the coast. Every year, about 30,000 ocean-going ships pull into its docks. But right now, a quiet race is happening. Other ports in Europe are building fast. They are spending billions of euros, and some of them sit in places that give them a natural edge. Rotterdam cannot match. After more than 60 years at the top of European shipping, Rotterdam faces a question it has never really had to answer. Could another port steal its crown? Not all at once, but slowly, one shipping route at a time? The answer matters far more than you might think. Ports are not just places where ships park. They decide where factories get built. They decide where people find jobs. They shape how food, fuel, and electronics reach your home. If even a small share of Rotterdam's trade moves somewhere else, it could shift billions of euros and change the map of European business. In 2024, Rotterdam handled about 436 million tons of cargo. That is a number so large it is hard to picture. Think of it this way. If you lined up all that cargo in trucks, the line would wrap around the Earth many times over. About 13.8 million standard shipping containers passed through Rotterdam that year alone. A standard container, called the TEU, is about 6 meters long. It is the basic building block of world trade. Rotterdam's reach goes far beyond the Netherlands. The port sits right where the Rhine and Meuse rivers meet the North Sea. Those rivers flow deep into Germany, Switzerland, and France. Goods that arrive by ship can hop onto a river barge and travel hundreds of kilometers inland. This river network is one of Rotterdam's greatest strengths. It lets the port serve factories and cities across 6 countries. Entire supply chains, the long journey a product takes from raw material to store shelf, depend on Rotterdam staying open and fast. Rotterdam did not become Europe's biggest port by accident. After World War II, the city rebuilt its docks and kept expanding. In the 1960s, it built a massive area called Europort to handle oil tankers and bulk cargo. By the 1980s, it was building new land right into the North Sea. The most dramatic example is called Maasvlakte 2. Workers sprayed 240 million cubic meters of sand from the ocean floor to create brand new land. That is enough sand to fill a line of dump trucks stretching from Europe to Australia. Maasvlakte 2 opened in 2013. It added about 2,000 hectares of new port area, roughly the size of a small city. 2 brand new deep-sea container terminals were built on it. These terminals use automated cranes and robot vehicles to move containers without human drivers. The project cost around 3 billion euros and was partly funded by the European Investment Bank. It was the biggest civil engineering project in the Netherlands since the famous Delta Works flood barriers. But even as Rotterdam was building Maasvlakte 2, the world of shipping was changing in ways that would test this giant port. Container ships have been growing bigger for decades. In the 1970s, the largest ones carried a few thousand containers. By 2006, ships could hold about 12,500 TEU. Then came a massive leap. Today, the biggest container ships in the world carry more than 24,000 TEU. These vessels are nearly 400 meters long. That is roughly the length of 4 football pitches laid end to end. They are wider than a highway and taller than many apartment buildings when fully stacked with containers. These floating giants need very special ports. They need water at least 16 meters deep. They need enormous cranes that can reach across 24 rows of containers. They need huge storage yards and fast rail connections. Only a handful of ports in the world can handle them properly. Rotterdam is one of those ports, with docks reaching 20 meters deep on Maasvlakte 2. But here is the twist. The bigger the ship, the fewer stops it wants to make. Mega ships save money by visiting only the deepest, most efficient ports on the most direct routes. And for ships coming from Asia through the Suez Canal, Rotterdam is not always the most direct stop. That is where a small port town in Portugal enters the story. On the rocky Atlantic coast of Portugal, about 107 kilometers south of Lisbon, sits the port of Sines. It is the birthplace of Vasco da Gama, the famous explorer who found the sea route from Europe to India more than 500 years ago. Today, Sines is writing a new chapter in European trade. Sines is a deep-water port. That means ships can sail right in from the open Atlantic without squeezing through narrow channels. Its water is naturally deep, down to 17 meters at the container terminal. It faces the ocean directly, which means it avoids one of the biggest headaches in European shipping, the English Channel. The Channel is one of the busiest and most crowded waterways on Earth. Ships heading to Rotterdam or Antwerp must navigate through it. Ships heading to Sines do not. For years, Sines was a small player, but it has been growing fast. In 2024, the port handled 1.9 million TEU of containers, a record year and a 16% jump from 2023. It now ranks 14th among all container ports in the European Union. The Port Authority has big plans. An expansion now underway will more than double its container capacity to 4.2 million TEU by around 2030. The investment is worth more than 400 million euros. Sines has also caught the attention of the world's biggest powers. China sees it as a possible western end of its Belt and Road Initiative, a vast network of trade routes connecting Asia to Europe. Both Chinese and American companies have shown interest in building new terminals there. A proposed new terminal named after Vasco da Gama could add another 3 million TEU of capacity. If all these plans come together, Sines could one day handle 7 million containers a year. Still less than Rotterdam, but enough to shake up the map of European shipping. Sines is not the only challenger. Belgium's port of Antwerp-Bruges handled 278 million tons of cargo in 2024 and is investing in a major expansion called Extra Container Capacity Antwerp. That project aims to add 7.1 million TEU of new capacity through new docks and terminal upgrades. Antwerp's container numbers grew 8.1% in 2024, nearly triple Rotterdam's growth rate. The gap between these two ports in container traffic has become razor thin. Then there is the effect of Britain leaving the European Union. Before Brexit, goods could flow freely between the United Kingdom and the rest of Europe. Now, new customs checks and paperwork have changed how cargo moves. Ports that can handle this extra step, called transshipment, where containers are moved from one ship to another, stand to gain. Any port that captures a larger share of UK-bound cargo wins a lasting advantage. In the first half of 2025, trade between Antwerp-Bruges and the United States alone grew more than 17%, showing how quickly trade flows can shift. Meanwhile, global shipping disruptions have also reshuffled the deck. When ships had to avoid the Red Sea and sail around Africa's Cape of Good Hope in 2024, Western Atlantic ports like Sines suddenly looked even more attractive. They were closer to the rerouted shipping lanes. The crisis showed how fragile the old routes could be and how geography can change everything overnight. So, is Rotterdam about to lose its throne? Not yet. Its river connections, its massive industrial base, its decades of trust with shipping companies, these are advantages that cannot be copied easily. Rotterdam's 2025 numbers show some decline, with throughput falling in the first half of the year. But this port has survived world wars, oil crises, and the rise of Asian megaports. It has always adapted. Still, the story is changing. For the first time in decades, Europe's port map is genuinely shifting. Sines offers deep water and a direct Atlantic gateway. Antwerp-Bruges is growing faster and investing heavily. Megaships keep getting bigger, and they reward ports that sit on the most direct, deepest routes. The old pattern, where nearly everything flowed through Rotterdam and the English Channel, is being stretched. The real lesson is not about one port winning and another losing. It is about how trade never stays still. The oceans, the ships, the politics, and the money are always moving. The port that reads those changes fastest will shape how hundreds of millions of people get their goods. Right now, that race is wide open,